Let's go. New York Jets win at Pittsburgh against the Steelers. We win 24-20. Got really close with my prediction. I had predicted originally 17-13 because I heard that the field was supposed to be really, really muddy. But I changed my prediction to 24-17 New York Jets when I saw the field and everything like that. Really close. Guys, today we're going to be doing a game recap. We're going to be talking about the offense. We're going to be talking about the defense. And then we're going to end the video talking about the coaching staff. But before we get into that, guys, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, I would greatly appreciate it if you did it. We are so close to 2,000 subscribers, and I would love to be able to hit the 2,000 subscriber mark before the bye week. So if you haven't, please share the channel with anybody that you think who might enjoy the content. But let's hop right into today's video. We're going to start with the offense. And the first thing that I want to talk about with the offense, before we even talk about Zach, is the fact that we were finally able to see what this offense looks like with Zach under center. We were really able to open up the playbook, and I'll talk about more about that when we talk about the coaches and Mike Lafleur, but we were really able to open up the playbook, and I really liked what I saw from this offense schematic-wise, receivers running their routes, play calling wise and personnel wise. We really saw our tight ends getting involved, running a lot of 22 personnel, 12 personnel, 11 personnel. Like, we really called a lot of different personnel packages and different things like that. We were really able to open up the playbook. And while I appreciate what Joe Flacco was able to do and get us to week 4, 1 and 2, we really finally get to see what this team looks like with Zach under center, because that's what matters. Next, I want to talk about is the fact that, again, talking about Mike Lafleur, being able to talk about the fact that our pass to run ratio was much, much, much closer to where I want it to be. 37 passes to 29 rushes is exactly about the ratio that we want to see. About 40 passes a game, about 30 runs a game. And so it really allowed us to open up the playbook because play action was actually viable. The run play option was actually viable. So you'll love to see that. Now let's talk about something that's not so good. They performed adequately, and that's the offensive line. The offensive line needs help, and it sucks because my boy Max Mitchell goes down with the injury. The good thing is that it looks like it's not something serious. It looks like it's not any ligament damage, and we know that nothing's broken. So we're really just waiting for the MRI and the CAT scan or the whatever it is to check the integrity of the knee. But it seems like this might end up being a high ankle sprain. And it's just one of those things where the New York Jets are not getting any luck at the left tackle and right tackle positions when it comes to players staying healthy. Hopefully this doesn't derail Max's season, because I really would like to see him back on the field sooner rather than later. But ultimately, with this offensive line, when we're going to be facing up against Miami and the run game's lackluster performance, I would really like to see Elijah Vera Tucker moved back to the right guard. He played left tackle well, but our run game suffered because having him create gaps and space in the run game from the tackle spot was a little bit difficult for him. And if we can move him back to right guard, I would love to be able to say that Remmers, I'm hoping that he can be ready and play and slot in at the right tackle, because ultimately, Dwayne, where are you at? We need to know what's going on with Dwayne Brown, because I want our offensive line versus Miami, who has a pretty good, pretty lethal pass rush, to be Dwayne Brown and Mike Remmers on the outside, because I trust these veterans more than maybe a Connor McDermott, who performed well at the right tackle spot when asked in a pinch. But I would much rather see Mike Remmers and Dwayne Brown in the tackle positions this game against Miami next week. So we really have to keep an eye on the status of our tackles. Another thing that, again, I'm not super happy about when it comes to this team's performance is the stupid mistakes, the rookie mistakes that we're getting, and not even from the rookies, right? Bryce Hall is making rookie mistakes, dropped passes, different things like that, but we're really starting to see is mistakes coming to bite us in the butt with, like, if you're going to drop a pass, like, you got to make sure that the pass is going to the ground. There was 2 tipped passes. One resulted in a interception. We got to stop seeing that. This is the first game we didn't have a fumble from the New York Jets offense, which is like a crazy thing to say, that you fumbled the ball every single game up until week 4. We got to stop making the stupid mistakes. We got to get better at holding onto the ball when it hits our hands. We got to get rid of these dumb penalties. You know what I mean? I love seeing these wide receivers in the run game and in the, like, getting involved in the blocking and really, really trying their hardest. I'm looking at Corey Davis on that one specifically. It's great to see him in the run game be involved and really trade paint with these linebackers and these safeties and all of these things. But the thing is we've got to cut back on the stupid mistakes. Lastly, before we talk about Zach, the running backs. I loved that we saw the running backs way more involved in the offense, but the problem was the running back couldn't really get going behind this offensive line. The offensive line needs to help this running back room, because when we run the ball this well, or not this well, but when we run the ball at this kind of level, which is more where I want us to be at, it can be lethal. We really saw Bryce Hall take a step up in his carries. He leads the team in carries this game with 17 carries, but I don't really want to see Bryce Hall out there on third downs unless we're playing both running backs, until Bryce can fix the whole dropping the ball situation. Yes, he's lethal, but Michael Carter is a much better pass catcher. And today, for the first time in Michael Carter's NFL career, the first tackler brought him down in one of his runs. Absolutely surprising to me. Let's talk Zach, right? We got to talk Zach. Zach is back. And I've got to say this. This is a stat that is a benefit to Zach Wilson, that he only got sacked once this game, because Zach's escapability was on full display today. A lot of people may not know this, but I saw this stat on Twitter. I don't know if it's true because I don't have access to all of the in-depth analytics yet, but I saw a stat that said that Zach was under pressure 72% of all dropbacks in the first quarter. And for that to be the case, and for us to only have 1 sack the entire game, Zach was bobbing and weaving and extending the life of plays constantly. But here's the growth that we saw from Zach from last year to this year. He was doing all of that stuff. He was extending plays. He was keeping plays alive, but instead of doing the rookie mistake and throwing the ball or trying to force it, he got the ball out of bounds constantly. He would escape, bob, weave, run this way, run that way, make a guy miss, make another guy miss, and then he would throw the ball away, live to play another down. Love to see the growth from Zach, playing smart instead of hard. And then the other thing is, while Zach still has a tendency to throw balls really, really hard, I loved the touch that we saw on some of these throws from Zach Wilson. There were a lot of balls that were thrown really, 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 really well, and they weren't like 50, 60, 70, 100 mile an hour fastballs. You know, he got some balls with touch, like to Corey Davis up the middle of the field. Love to see it. But let's move on to the defensive side of the ball. And I think you got to start, when you're talking about this defense, with Lamarcus Joyner. Lamarcus Joyner was probably hands down the MVP of the defense this game. He was everywhere. He had 6 tackles. One of them was a solo tackle. He had 4 pass breakups this game, 2 interceptions, and directly led to another interception in Jordan Whitehead's interception that he got. The guy was everywhere. And coming off of a week where Jets fans were screaming, and I mean literally screaming, for Lamarcus Joyner, present company, like, included, was screaming for Lamarcus Joyner to be off of this team. For him to step up in this way, this big, absolutely props. Gotta give him props for what he was doing. And I don't want to move on away from the safety room without talking about Jordan Whitehead. Jordan Whitehead, while he didn't have a spectacular game, he wasn't bad either. The best thing I can say about Jordan Whitehead is that you didn't notice him on the field. And that's not a bad thing. Sometimes it's good enough for a player to just be there. He's not making big mistakes. He's also not making big plays. But the expectation that a player is going to make a big play every single week is a little bit naive, especially when he's not an elite player, and that's not what Jordan Whitehead is, right? So, love to see that. Next player that we're going to talk about on defense is Jermaine Johnson. Guys, I loved Jermaine Johnson coming out of the draft. By the time of draft night, I had him ranked as my #1 edge rusher out of the class. And today, he really put on display his ability and what he can do when given the opportunity. He had 4 tackles. 3 of them were solo tackles. He had 1 tackle for a loss. He also had a sack. He also had 1 QB hit. Like, in his limited snap count, you really got to see what Jermaine Johnson can do, and the fact that they were terrified, absolutely terrified, when Jermaine Johnson was out, to run the ball towards his side. They kept running the ball left when JJ was out there because they knew that this right tackle that they had was sorry, and they couldn't stop the run-stuffing ability of Jermaine Johnson. I want to see more of our first-round draft pick. He should be elevated to the starting 4. And if that means we got to bump Jonathan Franklin Myers inside, then let's do it. And that's not an indictment of Sheldon Rankins, who I think has actually been performing really, really well this year. It's more a fact of Jermaine Johnson is legit, and I want to see him starting on the edge. And then last player that I'm really going to highlight is going to be Quan Alexander. Man, the guy continues to fly, and I mean absolutely fly up and down the field, drop massive, massive hits. Boy, do I continue to get proved wrong by Quan Alexander. I made this comment on my live stream that if we can get 13 to 14 games out of Quan Alexander this year, I want to extend him. I want to give him a 2-year contract at the end of this year because he is playing so well for this defense, and we need to start looking at this linebacker room and the solutions that we might be able to have long term. Now let's talk about specific defensive things. Guys, we got 4 turnovers this game, which is absolutely massive. If you can win the turnover battle, you can win football games. And by us getting 4 interceptions this game, really 5 because we got 1 taken away from us from a stupid late hit call on Carl Lawson, which honestly wasn't that late of a hit. Absolutely horrible call. 4 turnovers. It's huge. Turnovers come in bunches. You can see that. We made Mitch Trubisky look so bad that they put Kenny Pickett out there, and then we made that offensive coordinator and in Matt Canada and Mike Tomlin and their head coach question whether or not that was a good idea because we forced Kenny Pickett to throw 2 interceptions as well. 4 turnovers. You love to see that. Guys, I'm going to keep giving this player love until he gives me a reason to not give him love. Quinnen Williams, 6 tackles, 3 of them solo tackles, 1 tackle for a loss, 1 sack, 2 QB hits. The guy is everywhere. Quinnen Williams is about to get paid, and I cannot wait for him to be a Jet for so many years to come. All we got to do now is find him a partner in crime up the middle. The corners continue to play excellently. These teams are being dumb and continue to try to test Sauce Gardner, and he ain't the guy to test, guys. Sauce Gardner continues to show us that he is an elite cornerback, and DJ Reed is shut down on the other side of the field as well. And the great thing is both of these guys are getting involved in the run game and in the tackling game. DJ Reed with 4 solo tackles this game. Sauce Gardner a part of 3 tackles, one of them being a solo tackle. Sauce, I don't think, let up a single catch and directly resulted to an interception that Michael Carter II got. absolutely good. The defensive line finally able to get home. We got 3 sacks, and we forced a lot of bad balls to be thrown. We saw that the D-line and the coverage guys were working in perfect unison. We were getting coverage sacks. We were getting defensive line interceptions. Absolutely great scenes that we saw from them, and I want to see more of Bryce Huff. He really, really showed us today how disruptive he can be and how he was always in the backfield rushing these quarterbacks and making them hurry up their offense. Bryce Hall was just while he wasn't super impactful in the game, maybe creating pressures that you can actually mark down on the stat sheet, he was in the backfield and making life uncomfortable. I think he's definitely earned the spot against Miami over Jacob Martin, and I think it's a good accountability thing to tell Jacob Martin, hey, you gotta do better if you want to play on Sundays, and we gotta reward Bryce Huff for giving us an absolute great game. And then again, with the defensive side of the ball, it's dumb penalties and mistakes. We can't have these not pass interference calls, but we can't have these late hits on the quarterback. We can't have these dumb mistakes, giving these opposing offenses more time to really play and get more chances. We've got to, when it's time, we got to step on their throat, and we got to do it clean, and we got to do it legally. And the other thing is that there are small mistakes keeping us away from getting the sacks. There are multiple times, if you go back and watch this game, where the defensive linemen, the defensive edge rushers are getting around the corner, breaking up the middle, and when it comes time to actually hit the quarterback, they're whiffing, or they're slipping, or they're falling, or they're doing something that just isn't letting them get the sack. We need to convert more sacks as the game goes on. That being said, really liked what I saw from this defense. And let's end the video talking about this coaching staff. The first thing is I want to do is I want to talk about Robert Sala. Robert Sala got a lot of hate this week from a lot of Jets fans and a lot of Jets YouTubers, and I was never one of those guys. I defended Robert Sala, and I said, look, guys, It's 3 games into year 2. It is 20 games. It's not the end of the world. We're not there yet. Let's give this team some time. Let's let them develop. We haven't even seen a game with our starting quarterback, but Robert Sala has this team fighting tooth and nail every second of every snap, every quarter, every game until the game is over. He has these guys playing incredibly hard constantly. They never think that they're out of the game. They never think that the game is over. They are constantly fighting to the end. And you can see that from the fact that both of our wins were comeback wins, and they never think that they're out of it. The other thing that I really was impressed by was Salah's game management skills this game and the coaching that he's giving the players when it comes to game management. At the end of the game, when we're there in the red zone, and you see that Robert Sala lets the play clock wind down before calling the timeout, not only is that showing that he believes in his offensive line, knowing that they're going to get home, but he has the wherewithal to know that in this crunch time, you want to take off as much time from the clock as possible so that you hopefully end the game with your last play, which is a touchdown, so that you don't give Pittsburgh any chances to come back, tie the game, or even win the game. And then the other thing is there was a late catch right at the end. It was the Corey Davis catch that was called off, but you saw that it was a catch on the sideline. It was a toe tap, but that entire offense was rushing to the offensive line to where the ball went down to try and get the play to go off so that these referees and so that the Pittsburgh Steelers couldn't challenge it or overturn the call. It didn't work out this time, but that's good coaching from Robert Sala. And then let's talk about Mike Lafleur. Mike Lafleur, man, tricky Mike Lafleur is back with all the trick plays and all of the things that he was able to do. The Philly special to get the touchdown to Zach, which, fun fact, if you guys didn't know, that was the first QB caught touchdown in NFL history, in New York Jets NFL history. And really, really impressive there. But I loved what I saw from Mike Lafleur, finally being able to show off his creativity, finally being able to open up this playbook and show us what he actually wants this offense to look like. He is also spreading the ball out with his play calling a lot. We had seven different pass catchers this game, and when you take into the fact that like Zach is one of them, like it's crazy how creative he's getting. The other thing is I really want to see more 2 running back sets from Mike Lafleur and his play calling. It leads to a lot of the RPO stuff, and the RPO really, really was lethal in this game. One of the things that I love to see is like I said, all of these guys are really involved and are really, really dedicated to the run game, to the pass game, to the different things like that. We saw Michael Carter just absolutely crack a safety trying to give Bryce Hall that extra yard, and Michael Carter's not the biggest guy, so I want to see more 2 running back sets, but I also want to see way more RPOs off of the back of run catches and things like that. Great game from Mike Lafleur. And then let's give credit where credit is due. Jeff Ulbrich called a great game. Absolutely fantastic game. We saw a lot of good things from this defense. Like I said, 4 turnovers, keeping these teams under 24 points, which is right around where we need to be constantly if we want to be in games and winning games. The defensive line rotation, as much as everyone wants to hate it, actually worked really well for this team this year, but I do want to see more of JJ. Guys, that is all of the notes and everything that I have about this game. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Gosh, it feels good to be on the back of a New York Jets win. Let's go, and I will see you guys tomorrow with more videos.